A dark fantastic network presentation. Last scene. A mystery.
In darkness, he stood still, waiting. He could hear nothing but the sound of wind stirring, could see nothing but blackness. Then he heard breathing, weak and slow. Then it grew stronger, the rapid breathing of a frightened man. The sound of his own breaths, a glimmer of light from far away, coming closer, closer, growing brighter, bolder. A yellow light turning darker, now orange, now red. Then he heard it, the wind pushed forward by what was coming. He tried to move, run away, but all he could do was take one small step. And he saw it cleaving the darkness, whistling through the air. He wanted to shout, to scream, but could not. It moved slowly, decelerating, revealing itself. Its silver tip, its golden yellow body. It was inches away now. A moment more and it would reach him. He screamed, the sound echoing in the dark. As death came for him, William's body jerked. He opened his eyes. He was in bed. He looked around, trying to get his bearings. The only light came from the desk lamp, pointed at the window, hiding the night outside. He swallowed, took a deep breath. His throat was dry. He massaged his neck, trying to calm down, gather his thoughts. That dark dream, it had returned. He sat up, grabbed the glass of water from the bedside table. He took a few sips, waiting for his stomach to settle. That dream, he hadn't had it for years. He looked at his hands. They were shaking. He couldn't believe it could still rattle him this much. He took a deep breath, let it out slowly. He looked at his watch. He wouldn't be able to get back to sleep for at least an hour. That was how long it would take for his mind to calm down, get back to its usual rhythm. But it was almost dawn. He got out of bed, went to his desk. He opened the bottom drawer, slowly, only halfway. The metal caught the light, revealing the sight. He swallowed. He didn't want to look at it anymore, but he couldn't help himself. That nightmare had brought it all back. He closed the drawer, moved away from the desk. It was time to get to work. In other news, 2 more warehouses were broken into today, one near Christensen Avenue and another in Wallace Street. Over the past 2 weeks, a total of 12 such storage facilities have been broken into in a series of bizarre and unexplained acts of vandalism that has left the authorities baffled. William stood in Control Room 4 of Station WKIT-12 watching Brian as he rattled off the news, dull as they were. "Slow news day," William said, then yawned, his lack of sleep catching up to him. Slower than slow. But Brian is a pro. He can make the opening of a new drugstore sound like the end of the world. He knows how to keep people listening, Mark said as he fiddled with the soundboard. "What's next?" William said. "Rick's Q&A. Then Golden Oldies, then we go to auto," Mark said. Auto meant switching from live programming to a recorded set that would keep the station going through the night. Mark would come back at 6 in the morning and switch back to live airplay. "Good," William said. Mark glanced at him. "Rough night? Woke up too early. Not enough beauty sleep, huh?" "Yeah. It shows. You ain't much to look at today," Mark said. "Thanks. I try my best," William said, yawning again. "Take a seat. Your yawning is distracting me from my delicate work." "Fine," William said and plopped down on the ratty couch. In the background, he could hear Brian trying his best to make terribly written leads sound good. Was anyone listening? William thought. In this day and age, everybody knew radio was a near-dead medium. An old pal that people kept on in the background while cooking a complicated meal or driving to work. Sure, there was still the diehard crowd, the loyalists who still listened to their favorite station if it was still alive, that is, with the dedication of the true believer. But most of them were older, non-essential listeners, the kind that parent companies and ad agencies didn't give a damn about. But here they were, Mark, Rick, Brian, and himself, hanging on, keeping hope alive. But it was a losing battle, William knew. When he told people that he worked at a radio station, people gave him funny looks, asked silly questions about what it was like, or thought he was kidding. Most people considered radio a thing of the past, a relic. But William didn't think so. He loved radio. Loved the sound of it, the way it filled the room, giving it life, making it cozy. Radio was a friend. It was a storyteller. It was a way of connecting people of all shapes and sizes. He loved movies, loved television, but radio was something else. It had a magic all its own. The purity of it, the way it soothed and stimulated the mind at the same time, had always fascinated him. He felt his eyelids getting heavy. But for how long could he keep this going? How long before time caught up with WKIT-12? It was a question for another time. Right now he had to close his eyes. Just for a minute. Lost in a dark place. The sound of footsteps echoing towards him. A wind slowly rising. He started to sweat, the fear taking over. A whistling sound. Something was coming. Then a ringing sound. The darkness receding. The ringing. Getting louder, louder. William opened his eyes. He was on a couch. He'd fallen asleep. He looked around him. He was alone in the control room. The lights dimmed low. The ringing. It was his cell phone. He pulled it out of his jacket pocket. Yes. He tried to say, but his throat was too dry. He moved the phone away from his face, cleared his throat, then tried again. Hello? You sound like you swallowed a goat. Where are you? Johnny said over the phone. I'm at work, William said, sitting up, trying to stay awake. Those sundown naps always left him groggy no matter how long he slept. Sleeping on the job again? Good for you. I didn't get much sleep last night. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. It was a bad thing, William said, yawning. Oh, I'm so sorry. You sound like you need some coffee. Why don't you freshen up, put on your lipstick, and meet me at Tommy's, Johnny said. Tommy's was a diner around the corner from the station. I don't drink coffee, and I definitely don't wear lipstick, William said. They have tea and luscious pie. Pie. I like that. Okay. Meet you in 10, William said. Toodaloo, Johnny said. William put the phone back in his pocket, yawned again. He got up, walked to the soundboard. There was a note taped next to the master volume knob. It said, "Didn't want to wake you. You looked wrecked. Brian says he didn't know his segment was so bad it actually put you to sleep. Close up on your way out." The note was signed Marky Mark. He put the note down, turned out all the lights. He got out of the room and was about to close the door behind him when, from the corner of his eye, he saw it. A reflection in the control room window.
It's waking up.
He looked again. Nothing. It must have been his own reflection, or his tired brain playing tricks on him. But for a second there, he thought he saw the face of a woman, looking straight at him.
This has been Last Scene, a mystery.